folks, Fugere here, with just some thoughts about this issue of break-even. If you just finished the section in the lesson, the text about break-even, you're probably scratching your head and saying, say what? Because break-even, at first blush, appears to be real complex. It is not. It is very simple, but yet a very powerful concept in effectively managing organizations. And the best way I can describe what break-even, the concept of it, and the lesson does a good job of describing the math, but I want to get more into a little bit of theory, is to draw an actual break-even chart for you and use some examples that we might be able to learn from as to how to construct and what really a break-even does. So let's draw a little hypothetical break-even chart for ourselves. And let's assume that we've got a company that has sales of 10,000, 20,000, and increments up to 80,000 dollars. And then along, that's sales. And then along our percentage line, we've got 100%. So we got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100%. Now, in an organization, we have primarily three types of financial issues. We have fixed expense, which it really is things like rent, salaries for accounting people, fixed salary people, and a lot of general office administrative costs are simply fixed. I mean, regardless of whether you got sales of $100,000 or we got sales of $40,000, those costs remain fixed. Rent's a good example. The rent isn't going to go up. Of course, if we've got, at some point you're going to have to get larger facilities. But let's assume that you can do whatever we need out of the existing facilities. Rent isn't going to change. So let's total up first the fixed expense of the organization. Let's assume that the rent and the salaries and office supplies, and accounting fees, lawyers, etc., comes to, let's say, $20,000 of fixed expenses. So let's draw a line at the $20,000 mark, and all of this becomes our fixed expenses. And let's just label it fixed. The next category of expenses that we're going to have is going to be variable expenses. Now, variable expenses are just what they state, variable. They go up as sales go up and go down as sales go down, generally speaking. Most of those fall into the category of cost of goods sold. So you've got material and equipment to produce whatever it is that you're manufacturing. A lot of labor is variable, particularly if you're hiring temp workers and those kinds of things. Those are all, of course, variable expenses. As sales go up, we're going to need more help in the factory, need more raw materials. Those are variable expenses. So let's just, for the sake of discussion, in our hypothetical company here, assume that the variable expenses are probably $50,000. So now we've got a variable expense line here at $70,000 because we've got the first $20,000 roughly was fixed expenses. So now we've got a line here and a big category in this area of variable expenses. Now, to get a break-even point, it's very simple. All we do is draw a diagonal line up off the scale And at whatever point you have achieved enough sales to cover first your fixed expenses. We've got to have $25,000 in sales to get to our fixed expenses before we can even begin to cover a variable. Then the next category of expenses we need to cover with our sales is a variable. At the point at which our sales cover both our fixed and variable costs, we reach what's called the break-even point. Okay? In this particular case, all we need to do to determine where that is draw a line from that point where the intersection of the diagonal line and the variable expense line comes, and as you can see, it's roughly 85%. So, what does that tell us? Now, the remaining, let's assume that we had a $85,000 sales organization. This, of course, is profit. Now, how can break-even help us more effectively manage our organization? Well, you can see how important it is for an organization to pay attention to fixed expenses. If we reduce these fixed expenses, guess what, folks? The entire process moves down, which means now we become profitable at, let's say, 80% instead of 85%. Now, what does that mean? It means that, for an example, if we assume this was time and we were at a given tracking this on a month, it means that this organization in a given month is going to be profitable about 85% of the way into the month. What's that? Probably 24, 25% or 25 days into the month. So I know as a businessman that when I hit January 25th, that from that point forward is profit. In fact, I have a good friend who publishes it for his employees every morning and says, we're into profits now. He has a very interesting organization in that his employees are all on a profit sharing program. So it's critical to them to know we got to profit. Today, from now till the end of the month, we're into profit. What can that also do? It means that if some way we can now in the next 6 days reduce some of our variable expenses or reduce any of our fixed expenses, probably too late in the month, that's going to be pure profit. Anything we save in these last 6 days of the month is going to be pure profit. And it really is a motivator to the other thing we can give some thought to. What can we do to hype sales? If I can move that sales line a little bit higher the last 6 days of the month, guess what's going to happen? It's all pure profit. Why do you think when you hear all these used car dealers saying, the last 4 days of the month we're going to give rebates? It's because they're in a pure profit zone for that particular month. So the cost of doing a promotion is nickels and dimes, or it doesn't cost them anything because they're in a profitable situation. So they're going to be much more apt to really be in the green stuff, the green profit arena. Well, I hope that helps you understand. It's a great concept, and don't be afraid to use it. You'll find that there's lots of good uses for it.